Just give me one moment here. Okay, welcome in everybody. We're going to be getting started in a few minutes, with our Zen Poetry and Meditation. And I'm going to share the link to the live stream in the comments, okay? Hello. Yes, bro talk time. That's exactly right. Okay, so I just put in the comments the link to the live stream. So if you sort the comments by new, you should see that. And welcome in everybody. This is really going to be a wonderful time to get some wisdom, some joy, some deep teachings about ending suffering, waking up. Okay, and you can view the live stream through YouTube. If you sort the comments by new, then you will see the link to join the live stream. And we are currently live. So please do upvote that comment so people can come across it easily, so that people can see it. All right, hello everyone here on Discord. How is everybody doing? I am doing very well.
Good.
Cold as per usual, but doing very well for sure.
Nice.
So we'll wait about 5 minutes, giving people time to join in. And then we're going to start today with a reading. And then we'll do a little bit of meditation, guided meditation, and we'll finish off with some Zen poetry. So I see Mr. J, Steve, Karan, Kai, Jamie, Jack, Donald, everybody here. Great. And if you're watching through YouTube, make sure to say hello so that we know you're here. Great. Welcome, Moss and Bubble Master. And hello there, Jay.
Hello.
And Cliff, welcome. And James. And Anna. I like your stars there, Anna. That's very nice. And Susan and Hoalu over on YouTube. So we'll just take a few more minutes, give people time to join in, then we'll start. And for everyone who is listening on Reddit, if you go to the comments, you'll see the link to join the live stream so that you can participate in that way if you like. Hello, Iridia. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Bante.
Hi there, Jake on YouTube. Hi there, Ezra. Welcome. So Namaste over on Reddit is asking, what is this about? So today we're going to start with a short Zen teaching, a story of an enlightened woman and their path to enlightenment. And then there will be a commentary on that story, giving us kind of extracting and bringing up even more wisdom from that. Then we will spend some time in meditation, and we will finish with some Zen poetry. So right now, just giving everyone the time to be here, everyone who wants to be here. Hey there, David. Um, so the book, the teaching text that we'll be reading from today is called The Hidden Lamp, Teachings from Enlightened Women, Stories of Enlightened Women. Okay, so let's begin today with the story of the old woman's enlightenment. And this is a story from Japan in the 18th century. We can listen to these stories and these teachings as a meditation. So you can take a moment to make sure that you're comfortable. So seated or laying down, even standing, just important to make sure that you are in a comfortable, stable position at this moment. And finding that comfortable, stable position, you can take a deep breath, really bring the mind home to the body and settle into this space. Really show up to where you are at this moment. Begin to notice the presence of your body. So what it feels like to have a body at this moment, the experience of it, rather than our thoughts about the body or our idea about the body, but our actual lived experience of the body right now. We start to notice that, become aware of that. Start to give extra attention to our breath as it flows into the body and flows out. Breathing deeply and bringing the mind home to the body. Giving ourselves this time to rest, to be still, but also be aware. Deeply aware and connected to what is happening right now, what is happening at this moment. So getting comfortable with stillness, beginning to practice just breathing, just being aware, and opening ourselves up to this experience, these teachings, this path of pure mind, this path of waking up, transcending our sufferings, transcending the ideas that we have about ourselves and the world, that story that we always find ourselves living in, but instead to just be fully here, fully aware at this moment. So let's begin our reading titled The Old Woman's Enlightenment. This is a Zen story from 18th century Japan. An old woman went to hear Master Hakuin give a lecture. Master Hakuin is this very famous Zen master in ancient Japan. So an old woman went to hear Master Hakuin give a lecture, give a teaching on Zen. He said, "Your mind is the pure land, and your body is the great Buddha of infinite light. When the great Buddha of infinite light appears, mountains, rivers, forests, and fields all radiate a great light. If you want to understand, look into your own heart." The old woman pondered Hakuin's words day and night, waking and sleeping. One day, as she was washing a pot after breakfast, a great light flashed through her mind. She dropped the pot and ran to tell Hakuin. "The great Buddha of infinite light filled my whole body. Mountains, rivers, forests, and fields are all shining with light. How wonderful!" She danced with joy. "What are you talking about?" Hakuin asked. "Does the light shine up your asshole?" Small as she was, she gave him a big push, saying, "I can see you are not enlightened yet." They both burst out laughing. So a very exciting kind of Zen story here. A bit surprising. Does anyone have any thought? Does anything immediately stick out to them about this story or any question in relation to it? Something to clarify here is that Buddha means awakening. Buddha means awakening. So this great Buddha of infinite light is this awakening, this transcending of our suffering, this transcending of our self-identity, this overcoming of darkness, difficulty, stress, confusion, and waking up to our pure mind, truth. That's what enlightenment is all about. So let's go to the reflection from Shinge Ruko Sheri Chayat. We can say an experienced practitioner, so a reflection from an experienced practitioner. Jack, I see your question here. Jack says, did the fact she thought she'd achieved enlightenment mean she hadn't? I don't know about that. Maybe that will be touched on in the reflection of the story that we're about to read. But there is a teaching, I might be able to just pull it up right here, from the early Buddhist texts, the very traditional Buddhist texts, about that if someone did become enlightened, they could say that. They could say that they had become enlightened, but they would only say that for means of communication. They wouldn't say that because they had an attachment to their selves being enlightened, because of course enlightenment means a realization or an experience of no self. So this is actually the traditional Buddhist teaching on that, and I'll read this verse. If a monk is an arahant, arahant means enlightened, awakened being. So if a monk is an arahant, consummate, that is completely awakened, with taints destroyed, one who bears his final body, so like this awakening body, would they still say, I speak? And would they say, they speak to me? So would an enlightened person talk this way? If a monk is an arahant, completely awakened, with taints destroyed, one who bears their final body, they might still say, I speak. And they might say, they speak to me. Skillful, knowing the world's parlance, so knowing the ways of communication that exist in the world, an enlightened person uses such terms as mere expressions. So not in terms of self-identification, that this self is actually speaking, but it's a way of communicating. So let's get back to the commentary here. The unnamed old woman is a prototype, often cast as someone initially dismissed, but whose cutting wisdom takes male protagonists by surprise. There are many stories from China and Japan in which monks' puffed up views of their own attainment are skillfully skewered by such a figure. So this is kind of speaking about how in any society throughout history, there tends to be a sexism, right? There tends to be a diminishment or seeing someone as lower because they happen to be a woman, right? Because they happen to not be a man. And so in this story, the old woman is kind of a prototype or an example of someone who is initially dismissed, but whose cutting wisdom actually takes those male protagonists or those male monks, those male teachers by storm, kind of cuts through their arrogance. The old woman in this koan may have been a follower of Pure Land Buddhism, which developed in 5th century China and took root in Japan in the 12th and 13th centuries. She would have been taught that by living a meritorious life and by continuously praying to Amida, the Buddha of infinite light, she would be reborn in the Pure Land, leaving the suffering of this life behind and entering Amida Buddha's radiant realm in the Western land. So this is a particular tradition of Buddhism that is almost seems Christian in certain ways. So they have this teaching that through practicing Buddha recitation or through chanting a mantra, in this case, the mantra of Namo Amitofo, Namo Amitabha, that if they do that, if they practice meditation and do good deeds in that way, that they will have the chance to be reborn into this Pure Land. And what is the Pure Land? Basically, it's a situation, it's an environment, it's a place where you're born into, where the conditions there are ideal and perfect for enlightenment, for becoming completely enlightened, for totally transcending all of our suffering, confusion, whatever that might be. So we can understand that where most of us are living at this moment, there is not it's not perfect. We're not in the perfect situation to become enlightened, right? To transcend suffering. There are a lot of difficulties, there are a lot of barriers that we encounter. But in this Pure Land, none of those barriers would be there, and we would just get further and further and further in this state of great peace, great wisdom. So it's possible that this old woman was trained or taught in that way, to practice in that way. Whereas coming to see a Hakuin, it'd be very different because he's a Zen master, so he's from a different tradition. So Hakuin was a ferocious and daunting teacher when dealing with his ordained trainees. But he cared deeply for the peasants who lived in and around Hara, where his temple was located, beneath the looming presence of Mount Fuji. With compassion and humor, he was able to make Buddhist teachings keenly relevant to these villagers, whose heavily taxed lives were filled with hardship and privation, sickness and early death. Privation is a situation where those necessities are scarce. So not even to talk about luxuries, but even their necessities were not easy to come by, not easy to have access to. How shocking must it have been to the old woman to hear Hakuin's words? Your mind is the Pure Land, and your body is the Buddha of infinite light. How could it be that her own mind, filled with all its delusory thoughts, all of these thoughts of delusions, was the Pure Land? How could her wrinkled, decaying body be Amida Buddha, the Buddha of infinite light? Still, Hakuin had said, look into your own heart. And with the trusting nature developed by her faith in Amida Buddha, that is what she did. It is the same for all of us, for us after all. No matter how many times we have chanted Buddhist texts, which sometimes begin as sentient beings are fundamentally Buddhas, and end with, this very place is the lotus land of purity, this very body is the body of the Buddha, until we awaken to this living truth, we will seek it far away. So it's a few things that stand out here. When Hakuin pointed to this old woman who was kind of trained in Buddhism and saw Hakuin as this a very serious high-level teacher, right? And Hakuin told her that, you know, your body is Amida Buddha and your mind is the Pure Land. It's this total flip of a switch. Whereas we are usually thinking that, well, we need to get into better circumstances, or, you know, we need to go live at a monastery, or we need to go, you know, change our life in some way to become enlightened or to wake up or to make progress. But in fact, that this very experience, this very body, this very mind is the mind of awakening, the body of ending suffering, right here and right now. And so if we go searching for it elsewhere, we will miss the Buddha right in front of us. This unsatisfactory difficulty, confusion, negative thinking that we have. This is the Pure Land. You know, this is the place that is ideal for us to wake up, to become enlightened, for, you know, to see light, to see wisdom in all directions. So how do we awaken to this truth? Only by looking into our own hearts, probing ever more deeply, can we realize what the Buddha taught. Atta Dipa, you are the light. Unfortunately, that essential trusting nature is often overridden by our sophisticated and skeptical worldview, and beset by the fracturing, multitasking circumstances of our 21st century lives. How many of us can steep ourselves in our Zen practice, our meditative mind, day and night, waking and sleeping? Yet if we are true students of the way, this is what we must do. Take up the current challenge presented by our lives and bravely plunge into it. So that is exactly what we do in meditation. It is not to avoid or to get rid of or to run away from the problems or the difficulties that we experience in our lives. Instead, it is to take up the current challenge, the current difficulty, the current coldness, the current confusion, the current drama, to take it up. That current challenge that is presented by our lives and bravely plunge into it, to drill into our dissatisfaction, our difficulty, so that we can be awakened by it. As is frequently the case with a profound breakthrough, it was while the old woman was simply doing her daily tasks that she experienced the actuality of what until then seemed but a promise. So it was doing the normal daily activities that this awakening happened. And so we bring our meditation practice, we bring our meditation method, not just to, when we're in the jungle or when we're in the meditation center or when we're listening to a talk, but when we are living our normal, ordinary, everyday life, that's the place to practice. That's the place to apply this refreshing, restarting, relying on just breathing and just being aware, relying on the meditation method, whatever it is, in our normal, daily, everyday activities, the mundane, the difficult, the challenges that we may encounter. She was just washing a pot, but she was completely absorbed in Hakuin's statement. So she was just washing a pot, but she was completely absorbed in her meditation practice, in this questioning, this introspection, this looking deeply. Filled with the joy of her enlightenment, feeling the endless dimensions of that light within and without, she ran to Hakuin, who immediately tested her with words crass enough to shake a realization that wasn't genuine. His question, "Does the light shine up your bum?" was the equivalent of a similarly coarse expression in our time. "Oh yeah? Stick it where the sun don't shine." Words that would expose any lingering duality of sacred versus profane. The Buddha of infinite light's realm versus this realm. So in a deep enlightenment experience, nothing confuses us. Nothing can challenge that. Nothing can interfere with that. Someone gives us a slap in the face. Well, it's another reminder to wake up. It doesn't interfere with us because we are no longer in a state of being stuck on ourselves, being stuck on self-attachment, self-ideas. We've totally released and let go of all of that. So, filled with the joy of this experience that the old woman had, she ran to the great teacher, she ran to the Zen master and said, "Look, I've had this experience. What about it?" And he responded by testing her with crass words, you know, um, to see if it was really a deep experience or if it was shallow. And so that's one way we can kind of humble ourselves regularly, is to be very aware of how impacted we are by changing circumstances or what someone might say to us or something like that. And then we recognize, wow, I really got stuck. I really got down in the bog because someone acted a certain way towards me, and that it wasn't how I wanted them to act, or it wasn't how I wanted that situation to go. And then I got into this, this deep suffering. So we're humbled by that, and we remember, to keep our practice and not to like run around thinking, oh, I'm enlightened because I have heat and I can take a bath whenever I want to, or I have free time, so I must be enlightened. Well, not quite. So when we show up to our meditation practice, we also test ourselves because we're taking on the challenge of what's happening right now. We're taking on the challenge of our life instead of just constantly distracting ourselves and avoiding that experience. No longer a timid mouse, the old woman responded like a dragon, with the confidence that comes with genuine insight, challenging Hakuin, revealing the sameness of their awakened mind within the differentiation of male-female, renowned teacher, statusless student. Instantaneously, they burst into great laughter, mirroring each other in joyful recognition. So this kind of goes back to some things that Shifu Simplicity was saying yesterday. Shifu Simplicity was talking about this lightness, right? This joy, this non-differentiation of higher or lower, this play between people who have that experience of enlightenment. For months on end, I worked on a seemingly impossible koan with my teacher. I knew my responses fell short of the challenge. I sensed that the koan demanded an aggressive physical act. So a koan is like this thought puzzle that a master might give a student. When at last I was able to express my realization with full confidence, great laughter burst forth from both of us. And in seeing into that koan, that puzzle of the mind, I also saw how much of my life up to that point had been crimped by trying to be what others thought I should be. My concern for propriety was the very thing that had kept me from the beautiful freedom of direct, spontaneous action. Is there any place where awakening cannot reach? Is there any place where awakening cannot reach? Okay, does anyone have comment or anything to share about what we've just read? Question or comment? Okay. So let's go ahead and do a few minutes together of meditation. So find your meditation position. You can sit cross-legged. You can sit comfortably in whatever way is most suitable for you. You can put your hands in your lap or on your knees. As we practice meditation, we are taking on the challenge of our life. We are taking on this experience as it is without adding anything to it or trying to take anything away from it. But we are just being with what's happening right now. And our way of doing that, our methodology of doing that, is to apply the meditation method. So we can utilize together the meditation method of just breathing, just being aware, allowing the breath to flow in deeply and to flow out. It may seem so simple that we imagine we should be doing something else, or there's something that we don't quite understand, but that's not it. The mind of confusion, the mind of trying to get involved, trying to change or to fix, the mind of preference, we notice that, we're aware of that, we return to just breathing, just being aware. Taking these few minutes, these few moments to open up our relationship with stillness, to open up our relationship with peace. So as we hear the sound of the bell, we are invited to go deeply into our meditation practice, to give our full attention to the breath as it flows in and flows out, and to simply be still. Okay, I will now ring the bell. taking these moments to just breathe and just be aware. So our practice is to allow the body and mind to fully relax, to fully let go of whatever it is that shows up to be held onto. Just breathing and being aware, letting everything disappear. Letting our self-focused mindset dissolve. And instead, to experience as deeply as we can this just breathing, just being aware. We often find ourselves so deeply stuck in ideas about ourselves, the past and the future, who we are and who we aren't, what we like and what we don't like. But at this moment, looking through our own direct experience, looking through this magnifying glass of just breathing, just being aware, where is this self? What is this self? Just breathing, just being aware. So I'll now share a few poems from my favorite Zen poet, Stonehouse, who was a mountain monk, a mountain hermit in the year 1200 in China. Green gullies and red cliffs wherever I look, and my thatch hut in between. Beneath a patched robe, my body stays warm. I have forgotten my worries along with the date. Rushes grow thin where the soil is rocky. Bamboo shoots grow tall where it's deep. Sometimes at midnight I hear a bell and remember there's a temple down below. Don't think a mountain home means you are free. A day doesn't pass without its cares. Old ladies steal my bamboo shoots. Boys lead oxen into the wheat grubs. Boys lead oxen into the wheat. Grubs and beetles destroy my greens. Boars and squirrels devour the rice. Things don't always go my way. What can I do but turn to myself? My hut is at the top of Hisia Summit. Few visitors brave the cliffs and ravines. Lugging firewood to market, I slip on the moss. Hauling rice back up, I drip with sweat. With no end to desire, less is better. With limited time, why be greedy? This old monk doesn't mean to cause trouble. He just wants people to let go. So, in wrapping up here, two of the teachings here come to mind, and that is the practice of meditation as taking up the challenge of our life and facing it, the open heart, opening ourselves up to face this life, this challenge, this experience. And then this last part of the previous poem from Stonehouse, Things don't always go my way. What can I do but turn to myself? So learning this practice of turning to ourselves as a source of refuge, rather than, things don't go my way and then trying to fix the outside or trying to get involved in this way or that way, but instead, what can I do but turn to myself? And especially if you're a mountain monk, you don't have any other choice. But in some way, we also don't have any other choice because we couldn't control the outside circumstances and situations. Certainly can't control them in the way we would like to. So it turns into this situation of what can we do but turn to ourselves. And in fact, the greatest freedom, the greatest peace we can find through that from turning inside rather than trying to fix outside, which is impossible. Inside, there's nothing to fix, right? Hakuin told this old woman, your body is no other than the body of the Buddha. Your mind is no other than the Western Pure Land. Your mind is no other than the ideal place in which to practice and to wake up, to experience these mountains and rivers that are glowing with light. So any questions or anyone like to share anything?
I just want to share with you guys that in my mind, in the back of my mind, I always thought that I needed to be somewhere else, like a peaceful place, so I can awaken. But when when I was hearing the talk today, I was like, you're always in the right moment and the right place to be awakened, and that really helps me understand a little bit more that I'm there, that I'm in the right place, and I'm doing the right things, and I just feel grateful for you for sharing all this and for taking the time for being with us. And I just feel the my mind feels less confused now, and I know I'm in the right place. And thank you for that.
Thank you for your sharing. It's a great insight. I think any place can be the right place, and also movement, it can be the right place. Just because we have this idea of like, well, this body is the body of the Buddha and this mind is the Pure Land. Well, this body moves around. Situations are always changing. So we also don't need to get stuck to, I need to be here, I need to be in this situation, but we are where we are at this moment, and we couldn't be in a better place. This is where we're at, right? You can't get to another place. So um, opens everything up. Okay. So I think we will wrap up now. Thank you all for being here, for your practice, for participating. To later today, we will have a talk from the head nun of the temple where I live here in southern Italy on vegetarianism and veganism. So if you've been looking for that spark to maybe try a more vegetarian diet or vegan diet, then this will be a great talk to listen to. And she'll also be sharing just some very meditative wisdom as well. So You can all join in and listen if you like, okay? Thank you for being here. Take care, be happy, be peaceful, and enjoy the body of the Buddha and enjoy this pure mind, okay?